Hello, my name is Swiss Bianco. In this video we will have a look at the PSA Dagger Micro or Micro Dagger. They just did release an updated version in the Saber line, which features quite some upgrades over the regular model by adding laser engraved stippling on the grip. That is one of the problems, that the grip texture of the regular model is too slippery. I did already solve that problem and found a solution with a simple grip wrap. There are videos on that part on my Swiss Bianco YouTube channel. The other part that they did upgrade is the trigger itself. Unfortunately, the Dagger Micro uses basically Smith & Wesson style hinged trigger. So you have that part here, the lower part on the trigger moving, basically the lower half of the trigger moving, instead of like by this Glock 43 here, the regular fixed trigger with a safety dingus in the middle. So you have way less spongy feeling on such a trigger because it's solid one piece, instead of the half splitted in half part here. That is, I would say, the biggest drawback on the Micro Dagger, that they did select such a lousy trigger design. Smith & Wesson did do that for patent reasons back then, but even they did leave that design long time ago and upgraded it to a solid trigger in a like it should be, just for a better feel. It doesn't matter if the trigger is more flat or more rounded like by the Glock, it needs to have a solid feeling and not a hinged design. So whoever made that decision by PSA, that was completely wrong. So since the PSA Micro Dagger is a bit of crossover between Glock Gen 4 to Gen 5 in certain ways, that has to matter about the patents that Glock still have. Some are expired, some are still valid, so they had to mix up a bit the system, and it's a tiny bit more complex to upgrade the trigger on the PSA Micro Dagger, and that's why I'm gonna do this technical video about it. So as we look on the left side, we have just a standard Glock 43, and on the right side we have the PSA Micro Dagger. If we look at the slide, the slide is of course Gen 5 on the Glock there, nothing special. On the Micro Dagger we have the same setup there, so that works. That is not the problem. The problem is with the frame, and in this case especially with the trigger assembly. So as we look on the left side, again Glock, on the right side the Micro Dagger. If we start with the part here, with the basically that interacts with the striker, it looks optically relative the same, but it works completely different. By the PSA Dagger we have like a Gen 4 1-to-4 design with the spring behind the trigger cross there, the sear. That is basically, as we gonna move it forward, we see that a little bit better. So the spring is pushed apart, and then as you pull the trigger, the spring tension is released, and that is the older design that is not patented anymore. And by the Glock it's the opposite. You have a spring in between under it that basically compresses together, and that is the better way, because they found out in all the decades as the clock is around that those tiny little springs that are in there are a bit a weak point, so they break not often, but that is one of the part that actually breaks, is that spring there. And while those springs are really cheap, you can get them as spare parts from PSA as well, as of course of a Glock from the Glock system. That is still a problem. You need to change it and take the gun apart to fix that up. So that is one of the problem there. So this is together with the complete trigger housing, the part, as I take it apart here, the trigger, the sear housing here, that is original Glock part, and we see there the spring is below. So the whole part is different, and of the trigger itself, it's basically just the trigger part that is different, as it has the hinge design. So I got me the complete set from Glock for replace all the parts, and we have first the Glock trigger housing. There we have the correct name and part number. Then we have the Glock trigger with the correct name and part number, and for the minus connector that I did get, there is no packaging. On that minus connector you see the minus is stamped there on the left part, and below there is the number of the part, and that is 33564. That part is, for whatever reason, not together with the housing. You need to separately buy that, and then it simply is pressed in all the way on that side there to then be connected with the trigger. So the idea is, what you can do to change the trigger, the cheapest way, I say, would be to get just the trigger part itself. Of course they sell aftermarket ones in aluminium and metal instead of polymer, and you can take the parts of the PSA micro dagger and simply unpin the part here and just use the trigger part, and then you have different feeling, one-piece design of the trigger if you want to do so. If you want to go all the way and upgrade to a true Gen 5 Glock configuration, as we did see it, with the better, more durable spring solution, and of course with Glock made parts which for sure have a better quality than a PSA dagger or PSA in general gonna have. We know the Glock quality is proven since the 80s. So then you need to get all those parts that I just did show and replace them with the parts from the PSA dagger. I'm not gonna show that here because YouTube don't like that, and it's too much, and we don't want to have too many liberal tears spilled around today. So changing the parts are easy, and if you can't do it, go to your local gun store. They can do it for you. That is no problem at all. If you wanna have that done, and if you can't do it yourself, or don't have anybody, friends or relatives that can do it, and then you actually have an upgrade on the PSA dagger for a relative cheap economical price. You have original factory Glock parts in generation 5, the latest models, and of course you can use a ghost disconnector as well if you wanna do that. I did just go with the minus disconnector. That quite likely gonna work really well. I have the ghost one in the Glock 43, so I can still swap it out and test it out, and that's part of why I do that, to simply test it out and see what works best. But I'm pretty sure the minus disconnect will do really well, especially if you want, you can do a polishing job on the trigger parts of the Glock as well to further improve it, if that is something that you want to do. That is relatively easy to do as well. So yeah, so I'm gonna post on the comments of this video then how that did turn out, how that did work. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make an update video on that matter, but I'm sure gonna post on the comments how it did work out and what I experienced along the way as I then test it again and try it out. The last point I want to mention is the magazine. So the factory magazine of the PSA micro dagger is good, and it works with the regular polymer magazine button, but it's not perfect. The great company from Italy, Mecgar, gonna come out with a 15 round magazine for that style of gun, and of course for the Glock 43X and 48. That's gonna be presented, as best as I see, by January of 2026 at our SHOT Show in Las Vegas here in USA, and that would be then 99.9% the perfect magazine to use in that PSA micro dagger pistol as well, to have another upgrade to the regular magazines that PSA sell. So all in all, it's still evolving and it's a great system, and there is still some room for improvement on the whole system, but step by step that all will come. So that much about the most simple trigger upgrade for the PSA micro dagger.